How you doing, everybody? Thank you for joining me again on Adulting With. My name is Patrick Davey, and I am happy to tell you that I have my guest today. I have Charles Bolden, the head coach of the UW Eau Claire baseball team. Charles, thank you so very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Pat. I really appreciate it.
So, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I lived in Eau Claire for 10 years. They haven't had a baseball team in Eau Claire since 1995. It's still weird for me to say UW Eau Claire baseball team. Do you get any of that from the staff or anything like that around there, that they're just still kind of getting conformed to that there's a baseball team now?
No, not really. I think it's a lot of excitement. Like a lot of times people will, we're so happy that baseball's back and things like that. I'm sure it is for some people awkward, but I think it's been such an anticipation for this to finally happen that I think that now it's actually here. People are just so excited about it, man, and they can't wait to get this going and watch us play and support us. It's been great.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic. So now, how long have you been coaching? Just all levels. Like, how long have you been coaching for now?
Well, I actually started coaching when I was 15 years old, or 16 years old. 16 years old, I'm sorry.
Nice.
When I was actually still an active sports member in high school myself, I was playing, I played Park District growing up, so I was about in 8th grade. Then you can't play Park District anymore, so I started coaching. So once I started doing that, I knew that was something that I wanted to do, and it was a passion for me. And my dream was to eventually become a head college coach, man, and I've done it. I've actually coached multiple sports as well. I coach high school basketball along with baseball too. So I'm just a sports person kind of in general, and I love it. It's fun doing something you love to do.
Oh, absolutely. Now, do you have any head coaches that you either played for or you played under that you want to strive to be like them at all?
That's a great question. Yeah, I had a guy named Gordy Gillespie who I played for at the University of St. Francis, and I actually didn't even play an official season with him because I transferred, but he came in the year that I left. So I established a rapport with him throughout the summer and different things like that, and he and I built up a relationship, and he actually was big there for me. I kept in contact after I transferred. He talked to me almost at least a monthly basis, and gave me good encouragement and different things like that. And to give you a history about Gordy, our athletic director, Dan Schumacher, actually, played against Gordy, funny enough. And Gordy was in the movie Rudy, because the kid Rudy went to Joliet Catholic where Gordy actually coached. And Gordy, he coached football, basketball, and baseball. He's in 20 some odd Hall of Fames. He's incredible, man. He started up programs on his own at university. So he's a guy where everybody just loved him, and he just had an intense passion for just being a leader for others. And and in the short time that I had him, he really set an impression on me. He lived into his 90s, which is such a blessing and something that I would pray. If you tell me right now I can live till I'm 85, I'm doing cartwheels.
Is it right?
Yeah, and he coached into his 80s too. So he had a great life, man. He was fulfilled, and that's something that I strive to be eventually, and what I want to get to.
That's fantastic. So now okay, so Eau Claire, first year coming in, new coach coming in. You got introduced as the head coach back in early February. COVID hit. How did recruiting all of your players during that time go for you?
It's funny. A lot of people think that it was difficult, and a lot of people think that a lot of challenges. I don't really like to look at challenges as something that's in my way. I just try to overcome it. So it actually worked out really well. I was here on campus doing a lot of things, and once COVID hit, I had to go back home with my wife and daughter, which actually worked out great. My daughter was really young at that point. I got to see her walk at the end of 9 months. And stuff like that, and watch her grow up and develop. That was really special for me. I had an opportunity to, have that bond and build that with my wife too, and really have a good family thing. But I was working nonstop, man. I tell you, that aspect of it was not easy because my wife and I both were working remotely, and we had to work nonstop. And we had our daughter just running around, man. And she's full of energy. She doesn't sit, and she just always wants to get into things, and she's really curious. So that was the most challenging part, is trying to navigate how to keep my daughter out of the way. But as far as the recruiting went and getting players, I got almost every player that I set out to get. I did a lot of things, a lot of scouting through videos, a lot of resources of having other coaches kind of reach out to me about players and things like that, word of mouth. and things like that. And it's been great. I mean, it worked out fine. I didn't miss a beat. Right now we have 32 total and growing on the team. We actually have tryouts for the club guys. So yeah, I mean, it didn't hurt us and harm us at all. You know, and also with the eligibility part of it, guys that transferred from like Division Ones, Division Twos, Division Threes, etc., NAI. Those guys would be juniors, but because of the pandemic, they actually get an extra year of eligibility back. So guys, some of the guys were like 8 games into their season and they got, cut to a halt. We got those guys back as sophomores. So our team is really young, even though we have some experience, and they're around campus now. They're excited. We're all jacked.
That's a huge benefit, especially with those guys that should be seniors. I mean, they're coming into the third year of baseball and they technically get that extra year. That is huge on you, just to be able to have that extra leadership coming in, to be able to take some of those freshmen coming in, especially, and to kind of show them the way of how things are done and at the college level. So now, like, is there anything that you look for in a player, like when you were recruiting, like, was there anything that stood out to you that you were kind of looking for, that when you saw that little stat or a personality trait, you're just like, yep, that guy's for me?
That's a great question. So a lot of it is when you're just looking at video, right? You're look at their technique, right?
Sure.
But the intent with what they do, right? So if you
Mhm.
take a swing, is it a swing with intent, or are you just going through the motions? If you
Okay.
throw a fastball, is it a fastball? Is it a pitch where you're looking to actually make an out, or are you just throwing the ball to throw it? So I think a lot of it is intent with purpose and what you do. And that speaks highly to the work ethic aspect of it, which is something I'm really big into. And that's something immediately about players that stick out to me. And to even give you an example of what the guys are doing now, they're actually started practicing. It's been 17 to 25 guys that practice on their own. Coaches cannot be there. We cannot start with them until September, the end of September. And those guys have been running their own practices every single day out at the field. So that makes me feel good that I recruited the right people, and I saw the right things in them to get what we need to do to be successful right away. Because it can be difficult with a brand new program being competitive right away. And
Oh,
again, I just
absolutely.
that as a challenge. It was something I accepted. I think we're going to be competitive. I'm optimistic.
You have to be optimistic. Oh, 100% you have to be. I mean, I would imagine you've done the research on the WIAA, and there's some no joke teams in there. You get La Crosse, Oshkosh, Whitewater. Like, those are three big houses there that are usually are cycling through the top three teams of that conference. And that's one of those things there. If you can compete with them, then you're going to be doing just fine, and that's where only time will tell with that. But if you have that core group of guys that are already trying to conform and learn and get the best they can, then they're already a step ahead of the game.
Absolutely, we are, and that's the thing, man. We're ahead of a lot of programs that have been around already and more established because of the credit to these guys and their work ethic and what they're trying to get out of this experience. So I think a lot of it also, we did a lot of Zoom sessions during the summer. So where we met every other 2 weeks as a group, and then we met as individual groups. So like the hitters, the pitchers, the catchers, the infielders, the outfielders, we all met as individuals, and we also did texting groups. So I really made it a point to always make sure that they knew that I was there for them throughout the entire summer. And we kept in touch with them. And then, the first day that they actually came out there, I had a recruit at the field, and they were playing catch. You would have never known that they hadn't known each other, because I felt like they established that rapport with each other just from doing the Zoom sessions. Also, another thing that benefited us kind of from the pandemic, because that's something I would have never done, I don't think, before all of these things happen. So now it's actually something I'm going to incorporate every year that I do. Just being there and just putting a hand on them and showing that I'm caring, and all the coaches are still engaged with them.
And those little things, as a head coach there, all of a sudden you see something that came straight out of left field that you weren't expecting, and all of a sudden you're like, this is working, and right, we're going to implement that, because why not? That's those are the little things that a good coach will see, and regardless if it was their idea or not, they're like, nope, this was meant for me. There's omens that happen, and you have to be able to see them and be like, yes, I'm going to snag that one for free, for
Well
sure.
said. Absolutely.
All right, so I got to hear a random question for you, a random coaching question for you. So now, all right, so you could only have one of these styles of rosters, all right? And you only pick one. So would you rather have speed, pitching depth, sluggers, defense, or slap hitters?
Ooh.
Oh, I know, right?
Well, I think the core of everything is pitching, right? I think that if you have pitchers that can throw strikes and put the ball in play for your defenders, baseball is kind of oriented off of pitching and defense. If you can catch it and throw it, you can play against anybody. You know, errors are the thing that kills you in baseball, but
Right.
I think I would rather have the pitching. You got to start there with the arms.
And you know what? I would agree 100%. That's one of those things. You could have these amazing teams. If you have no pitching depth, you're done. This is
Because
where,
here's the thing, we can manufacture some runs, right? I can figure out a way to get us. I can bunt, we can do some different things, and we can piece together a couple runs. But if nobody's throwing strikes and they're walking guys, and we're not getting an opportunity, play with the lead or have an opportunity to play with an even game, then you get into trouble.
that's right. That's right. Right on. All right. So now your roster is here or almost here fully now in Eau Claire, and you're able to start practicing as a team here somewhere in the next couple of weeks, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So now you have set expectations for your players, or do you have set expectations for your players for fall ball yet?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a layout. The coaches and I sat down and we did our own little, layout. A lot of fall ball, what we do is we put it on the players. And we, in this area, as you know, anyone in the Midwest knows, or East Coast, your fall time, you're limited with days. So the days where you can get nice weather, you have to take advantage of them. So we put a lot on them, letting them play against each other and compete. We do a lot of skill development as well. So a lot of fall is working with them individuals as groups with their positions. And then also just, again, they start the strength and conditioning programs with our strength and performance coach. So they do that year round, even in the summer. So they're working on their bodies and their minds. And then it's just leave it up to them. When we get them back in the winter after they come back from break, then it's kind of more where it's more bigger, practices kind of all together, and it's not as much competition because, they're not able to play against each other, but we still find ways to make it competitive to where they're not complacent and they're trying to just keep that competition as we head into the season.
Right. Absolutely. So now you were telling me before that your fall ball season actually got extended this year, right? They went from like 16 days to 30 days or something.
Yeah, so we're actually choosing to do 30 days. NCAA guidelines for Division III. Every division has different criteria for what they can do
Sure.
during dead periods and off seasons and such like that. So yeah, we traditionally only get 16 days, which equates to us practicing 4 times, right? Over 4 weeks and stuff like that with that layout. But now we get more days because of everything, because all the fall seasons got their seasons canceled, competitive season scheduled. So now we can do a little bit more. So again, this pandemic so far has worked out to our advantage. I
That's
just
it.
don't want to. I hate it. I feel like I don't want to jinx it, but everything is so far it's worked.
Hey, and then take it for all it's worth right now, because that's where you just don't know. Now, with that fall ball, you get the extended days. Now, is there a time limit per day that you can practice, or can you guys, if you've wanted to, you could run these guys 16 hours a day?
No, we can't do that. Generally, and that's
Okay,
not good to do to them anyway. Generally, what we would do is we go 90 minutes.
sure.
And we do kind of like we break it up in segments about, we do team practice where you go on, bunt coverages, etc. Then you do individual practices where they get into their positions and we work on, I do outfield and hitting. I have a pitching coach, a catching coach, as well as an infield coach. Those guys are all fantastic. So these young men are privy to fantastic coaches all across the board. And we get that time to work with them individually. And then I do hitting stuff with them as well.
I mean, that's like, is that your Monday through Friday kind of thing right there, or because they're trying to
Yeah,
do
so
schoolwork?
yeah. So we're going 4 days. So we're
Okay.
doing, do like, I don't know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, right? As an example. And that's kind of how we would do that.
Are you going to try to throw in a few, like, mixed team games or something like that towards the end of that, just to kind of like, hey, we're going to get a few, like, split the guys up, and so they're actually playing a game against each other and everything, that gets us to see some true pitching, get everyone some playing time?
Yes, I mean, with social distancing and the way the new rules are, we have to
Mhm.
keep them in groups of pretty much around 10.
Oh,
They
okay.
have to stay in groups and they cannot switch out of the groups for what we set for them initially. So that is going to get a little bit complicated about
I got
that,
you.
because we can't intertwine them. Guys that can play multiple positions. We have some guys that can pitch as well as play, actual position. So that gets a little, spicy, but we can find ways after practice where they can get in their work and do things on their own.
Sure. That's where it's like, I mean, right now it's a week to week thing. You just never know. All of a sudden,
It's literally.
right, exactly. I'm watching like Major League Baseball, and you just watch the guys in the dugout and stuff. Some guys are wearing masks, some guys are not, and they're all over the place because they have all these extended dugouts and stuff like that. I'm like, how far can they go? But like, the spring is the spring. That is months away. So the world could have opened up at that point in time too. Who knows?
We hope.
You hope, right? That's exactly it. So something you don't know about me is I love quotes. I absolutely love quotes. I think quotes are meaningful, and I think that if you find the right ones, they can say a lot about who you are and things that you believe in. And there's one that, and I don't know if you know this quote here, is a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. And that is a very important one to me because as a baseball player, that's a Jackie Robinson quote. It's just being able to impact other people is just huge. And being as a head coach, how do you feel that your coaching style are going to help these young men grow into exceptional men?
Well, I think even with that Jackie Robinson point, I love that because I'm a minority coach. I'm actually the first Black head coach in the history of this conference. So, that alone, I kind of feel like I'm trending along those same waters. Hopefully I make the same impact he did in some aspect. But as far as how I go about things, I equivalent baseball to life because the greatest thing about baseball from all the other sports is that you fail the most at baseball. 3 out of 10 is great numbers, right? That's not a good
Right.
percentage in any other part of life, but that's the famous kind of quote. And the reality of it is 2.5 out of 10 is great. If you're a 250 hitter, you're doing pretty good.
Still right. That's exactly.
Yeah. So, I try to, the failures, I think the biggest thing that I teach and the biggest thing that I harp on is being able to deal with adversity. And I think these times have been great for that because that's automatic teaching moment. Just knowing how to deal without and knowing if things come up, how you're going to adjust to that. And, that's the biggest thing is dealing with things that don't go your way on the fly. We can have a plan for things, but plans don't always work. But how are you going to be a thinker on the fly when things just kind of come in your way and you have to kind of navigate through it without having something there in front of you or a layout to show you exactly what to do? Improvisational thinking.
That's it. You always got to be on your toes. Like you said, always have a plan, but know that plan is probably not going to work the way you want it. That is A, B, C, D. You better have it all ready to go.
Yeah.
So something I learned from you the other day, I was just like, you're a straightforward, no BS coach. And then I loved it. Like that is my jam. Like I know that as a personal trainer myself, my people coming to me know that I'm the exact same way. So I appreciate seeing that from other people and stuff. But I know that you have to have like a soft and sensitive side of you. You have a 14-month-old daughter, so this is where it's just kind of like showing that vulnerability of that soft and sensitivity that you give to your daughter and your wife. How is that important to also give to your college guys, to make sure that they know that everything you're saying to them and doing for them is coming from the heart?
That's a great question, and thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that. And the funny part is I was actually a personal trainer for 7 years.
Oh, yes.
Also,
Nice.
so I relate with that perfectly at the YMCA in Oak Park. I love that place. But really, honestly, man, incorporating my family, like seeing them with my daughter, being there for them in life, and that's the thing I tell everybody. My office is always open for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person you can literally tell anything to, and I'm not going to judge you. I've either heard it already or I've been in a situation myself. So there's not many times where I'm like taken aback by something. I'm always like, oh, okay, cool. I just kind of wear things and just, hear people. And I'm a psychology major as well. So that's a part of it too, is the listening aspect of it. But, just sharing my life experiences with them and opening up about who I am so they know, I communicate with you care about them. There's nothing wrong with telling them you love them. There's nothing wrong with telling them like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. I think, by the way I handle things and conduct things myself as a leader in that position is also very important that they see that by example. So not only by what I say, but what I do, just how I'm willing to go above and beyond for them, no matter what it is. It could be, helping them if they need, help moving, or if it's anything, if they just, if they're going through something personal at home, just being everything for them that they could possibly, imagine, and then some. I want to exceed their expectations, essentially, because their parents are trusting me with them. College is the time where, that's when you leave your parents, and college is the most important time because you grow into an adult. So I'm a really essential person in their lives to help navigate them. So I think sharing my life experiences and being able to make sure that they understand that the hard work it took for me to get to that spot, it's going to be the same for them, because the way I grew up and the way my life was, I didn't really have it easy, but I never let that deter me, and I never used it as an excuse. I always used it as motivation. I kept working hard, and it's paid off, and that's why I've got to this position where I am. I'm one of the small percentages of people that's actually doing their dream and doing something that they said they were going to do from a young age, and I stuck with it through the bad times, and I want them to see that and take that from me.
And that's the best part, is like you've through the grind, that just grinding through. You had to get through all that, and to get anywhere, you can't just get stuck in the mud. You have to push your way through, pull, and blood, sweat, and tears. If you're going to do it, you're going to get there, but that's what it takes. If you give up, it's just not going to happen. That's just the way life is. And that's at a young age, people, once they figure that out, their life actually becomes a little easier when that comes through there, because then you can just tolerate it a little bit better once you start understanding.
1,000%, because and even I did as a youth. We all want quick results. Right?
Always.
Initially, everything is like, how can I get to this the fastest way, right?
Right.
What loopholes can I take? But I think, unfortunately, in the things that I've learned, there's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as quick results, right?
No.
There's always going to be a journey. There's always going to be a path. There's always going to be good times. There's going to be bad times. It's always going to be something, to keep you level. Like I try to tell them all the time. You have to flatline as a person in the way you think about your daily habits. So myself as a coach, right? I'm never as good as everybody tells me, and I'm never as bad. So if I put down a suicide squeeze and it works, I'm the best coach in the world.
Right
If they miss the bunt, I'm an idiot for even calling it. So I can never listen to what outside people tell me about what my strengths and weaknesses are. So I think a lot of it is be really self-aware of yourself, know your strengths and weaknesses, and build your weaknesses and work on your strengths.
Always. That's fantastic. So I'm going to go back to your daughter. Quick question. How many times has she dressed you up in a tiara and feathered boa yet? Or are you not in that world yet?
We're not getting to that. I don't think we'll ever get to that. But I'm how many times I roll around on the ground with her, how many times she comes up and sits on daddy's lap, how many times she, we go outside and we have that like interaction. She's phenomenal. So not yet, but she's 14 months.
That's all right. That's all right, though. That's one of those things. I watch you talk about her, and I just watch you glow, and that just makes me happy as a father. So that's
I love her. I love her and my wife. They're amazing.
That's wonderful. So as a high school student looking to continue their hobby. Now I say the word hobby because it can relate to just about any extracurricular activity here. So what do kids need to do to step up their game to get noticed on a recruiting list?
Great question. So the biggest thing, what I did before all of this stuff came out, I emailed coaches personally, and I sent them videos, and I gave them statistics from what I was doing. And that's really nobody gave me advice to do that. That was just kind of my go get it mentality that I have.
Sure.
And just my take things, do it myself as opposed to wait for other people to do it for you. But that's the biggest thing. Have video when you reach out to coaches. If you email them stats and you tell them about yourself, that's great, but they want to see it, right? If I look at, chances are, if you email a coach, 99% of them, or if it's not them, their assistants will open a video. If you email them stats, if you email them a bio, they're going to delete that a lot of the time. So
Sure.
Showing video about, even if you just go to the park, set up a tripod or put it behind a glove. If you don't even have access to that and you hit off a tee, or, you can get something with your stuff actually, if it's not even in a game, get your stuff on camera so people can see your ability and they can have an idea for what they can work with.
That's great advice. Just because, this where the coaches can't see everybody, and as much video as they can watch, that's perfect. That's fantastic, dude. That's
like a 3-minute video, that doesn't take a lot of time, right?
Sure.
So if I do that 3-minute video, I put in there my email address, my phone number. If I like what I see in that video, that's what happened during the recruiting. some of these guys I didn't recruit, and they sent me videos, and they actually made the team based off the video. Now, I had to follow up with coaches about their personalities and talk with them and their families, but some guys on this team did that, and they made the team because of that.
See, that's perfect. That's it. That's perfect example right there of just like if you want it, you got to go get it. Just
Always.
even on the player side of it there. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So now you said that obviously because of COVID, you had to do most of it through video and everything like that. But hopefully next year you're going to be on the road during the summer. Your staff is going to be on the road, like physically going to games and get to watch them in place. Now, are you only watching those kids while they're playing, or are you paying attention to them in the dugout, in between a doubleheader, talking to their friends, talking to their parents? Are you paying attention to things outside of the baseball field also?
So everything a part of that matters, right? It's easy once you get in a situation with the adrenaline like flowing to kind of step up, but it's character, right? So
Right.
How do you interact with your teammates? How do you act when you strike out? Do you walk back to the dugout? Do you jog back to the dugout? Do you hang your head? Does it affect you in the field defensively? If you make it out, do you make an error the next time you get the ball hit to you? Are you still cheering your teammates on after you make it out? It's just small little things that I pay attention more to than the actual result. Because chances are, if I'm watching you and I come see you play, and I'm also looking for other kids, so with that being said, if that kid struck you out, how he's handling the situation, or different things like that, and I'm watching everybody. So I'm watching that one guy, but I'm also watching everybody else on the diamond as well, even guys in the dugout that aren't playing,
Sure.
even the coaches, the umpires, all of that. My head's on a swivel, but the biggest thing is what you're doing when you're not in the game is what determines how I want to go about recruiting you. Because that shows me what your real personality is. It's easy to, be good when everything's going well. I think everybody's great when things are going well, but
Right.
the true testament is what you're doing when you struggle and when you face failure. So I don't even want to see kids hit home runs when I go see them. I want to see them strike out twice, if I'm being honest with you, because that's going to really teach me their character and the type of person they are.
And like you said before, like baseball's a failure game, especially offensively, and so that's where it's just kind of like you have to be able to just kind of brush things off and just be able to move on to the next. You have to be able to do that. And so, and not all sports
Absolutely.
are like that.
And that's life too. Again, it goes back to that. Like some things are tougher than others, obviously. But the quicker you bounce back and the quicker you get through something, the more progress you're gonna make.
So now, are you? How willing? Let me rephrase this. How important is it to you to get a recruit coming in that's willing to learn and change?
And I hope those are the only people I recruit.
You get some stubborn guy that's like, I like the way that I swing. I like the way, and then that's a perfect answer. Like, you have to be willing to change because what you're doing in high school is good for that. You did good for that.
You know what? To be honest with you, man, I gotta be honest. If it's worked for and that's what got me released from playing pro ball is when I changed and went away from what I did that made me really successful my whole life.
Oh,
It was
right?
it was
Okay.
silly. I got so technical. I started working for an academy, and I'm giving hitting lessons, and I actually got so technical with doing that I lost track of who I was as a player, and that got me cut. And I could have kept my career going on longer.
Sure.
And it's unfortunate, but it helped me become a better coach. So actually, man, you know what? If it works for you, I'm not a person that's really reinventing a wheel. I kind of adjust based on what you're doing. So there's no one set approach. Now, the biggest thing there is a certain way that all pitchers and all hitters have to get to a certain point. So all hitters have to get to a hitting position. What does that mean? They have to get their foot down and have their hands back, right? That's whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's Mike Trout, it doesn't matter. We all have to do that to be a successful hitter. Otherwise, you're not going to hit the ball or be on time. Pitchers all have to land with their front foot, rotate, and then, obviously throw the ball and follow through. Pitching and hitting have similar, mechanics as far as how that works. But, I mean, the biggest thing, I want to make small tweaks. So it's not reinventing the wheel and changing the world, but it's, okay, you're pulling a ball a lot on balls that are – I'll give you an example. So you have a kid that'll pull the ball on an outside pitch, right? That ball you want to take where it's pitched. So a lot of times with that is your front shoulder. So that your front shoulder is directional on how you hit the ball. So it's simple adjustments like I'm not changing your swing, but you're keeping your front shoulder in longer to allow yourself to hit the ball the other way and not trying to go get the ball and let the ball come to you and allow the ball to come to you. So simple things like that with their bodies.
How about, like, how much of the mental game, especially when it comes to hitting, are you going to play with the players? And I say that along the lines of, like, how to read a pitch count. Know that it's a 2-0 count. They should be looking for a fastball. You know, you got an 0-2 count on you. You're probably looking for something in the dirt. Like, how do you, because there's some kids that just don't know how to read a pitcher or how to read the count there. How do you work on that mental game to be successful at the plate?
Great questions, man. So a lot of it, when you're seeing different pitches, a lot of times they come out of the hand different. So a curveball tumbles and a
Sure.
slider has a dot. It spins more and a fastball comes more this way.
Sure.
So that's just pitch recognition. But from an overall approach, we sit fastball and attack off speed. So the fastball is the hardest pitch to hit. So if you're not geared up for that, you're not going to hit it. So you have to always expect a fastball. So my hitters are always seeing fastball, and then unless they see curveball otherwise. So they're seeing it, right? Even if they get out in front with their bodies, the biggest thing is keeping your hands back, right? As long as your hands stay in attack mode, you'll have a chance. Once your hands come this way, you tend to get in trouble, right? And that's generally what happens. So we have a direct approach about sitting fastball, adjusting off speed. And honestly, a lot of what the pitcher does is based on them. So they have to learn from themselves. So here's the case. So if I'm 0-0 and you throw me a curveball in the dirt, okay, with 2 strikes, the next pitch you might throw me a fastball. But once you get to that 0-2 count and you need to get to the well, you're going to throw that pitch again. So a lot of it is being able to adjust to what you've already done.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does. Oh, yeah.
So if I look bad on a curveball, the pitcher's money pitch is going to be that curveball because I look bad on it.
Right. Absolutely.
Or if I'm late on the fastball, that pitcher's money pitch when they need to get in and out and they need to get me out is going to go back to that fastball. Everything else is just a setup, right? So learning what you're doing essentially they're the best teachers.
So then it's just time. I mean, that's what the beautiful part of fall ball is. Like, you get to play with this. If you know that there's a guy that always swings at, a curveball low and away, like, you're going to attack him until he just figures out, like, I will never swing at that again. And so it's
1,000%. Or you figure out a way to hit it.
Right. You got to break the habit, whatever way it does, and that's just the way that it all goes, and that's perfect. You're right on. I love it. So now, with all of this knowledge you have here, we have a pretty good baseball area here in Eau Claire. Do you guys plan on doing any kind of, like, winter youth kind of pitching, hitting camps or anything like that, or anything in the works? Or maybe the first year might not happen because of COVID. You're just kind of unsure of how that would work, or is that something that you plan on hopefully putting into play maybe next year?
Well, actually, it'll be tough with the school to do anything right now,
Sure.
just because of liability. But I actually work closely with the guys at Momentum.
Okay.
Those guys are fantastic. I work with them a ton. If you're looking for lessons in the area, they're a great facility to go to, and we're actually going to use them a lot. And I'll do stuff there. Right? So I love giving back to the youth, giving lessons and different things like that. So even if we don't do anything maybe directly with the school, I would love to do something at that facility and run a camp for sure. Absolutely.
So we always want to leave a lasting impression with people that we spend a lot of quality time with here. So when your players leave Eau Claire, they get done with their senior year and they're off to, they graduate, they're off moving away. It's like, what is something that they hope they remember about you or their team, or something about their time at Eau Claire for the baseball team?
Work ethic and accountability. You have to always work. You can never be complacent, and you have to be accountable. It's hard looking in the mirror and saying, I'm wrong. What can I do to get better? But in order to be successful and have good relationships, it's an essential trait. And those are the things that I stress the most. And that correlates to everything, like I said, man. So when they're competing for that job, their work ethic and the competitive practices that we have, I want that to show and reflect in how they go about getting a job. When they interview, I want them to be prepared, be able to answer any question, and answer it at the best of their ability, and just not be, good with just being average, but I want them to be great at everything that they do. I want that, all the lessons that, the hard work pays off, show me, right? So if you put in the hard work and it pays off, you know every time you're going to get a good outcome. Even if it's not necessarily, something in the moment, it's something that's long term. If you continue to do the right things and you're a good person and you don't accept failure, you'll be really successful. So that's the thing, man, to all. Just not accepting failure, being able to rebound and just working your tail off.
That's fantastic. I love it. So now you said that you played a lot of sports growing up. You know, you were kind of bounced around stuff like between you said basketball, baseball. Is it football was in there
Yep,
also?
yep, yep.
So what was it about baseball that drew you to baseball?
Uh, I think so. For basketball, I wasn't. I'm 6 feet, right, barely. So I wasn't
Sure.
like quite tall enough to play
Okay.
at that higher of a level.
Right.
Football, just with the impact, I think you play football is fantastic on game days. You play a lot of practice, for a little amount of games. You bust your tail. There's double practices, 3-a-day practices, and you only play 9 games. Baseball, you play the most games. You have the most opportunity, and you learn the most from it about life because you do fail more. So you have a little bit of extra, you know, personality traits behind it if you're a baseball player because you're used to having to deal with things not go your way more than
Sure.
not.
Right. You know, this is where like you said like baseball, like you said, is a failure sport, unfortunately, offensively. And there's another quote. I'm going to give you another quote here that I love because it's so true to this game. Where because it's baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical. That's said by Yogi Berra, and that's
Yep.
just one of those things. Baseball is purely in between the ears. You have to be there because if you're not there, the physical part just isn't going to happen. You got to be on every pitch, every play, ready to go through all that. Now, what positions did you play?
I played outfield because I'm left-handed, and I was too fast to play first base. So I played outfield a lot of my career, and then I kind of DH too, which means I hit. Hitting was kind of my thing.
I
Um,
gotcha.
yeah, I loved hitting. Left-handed too. I loved it. Hitting is something where I could talk hitting all day. Like when we get off here and we talk hitting, you'll be on this with me for another hour because I just love it. It's just that interaction between the pitcher. When you hit a home run, everything just stops for you, and they gotta watch you circle the bases because you did something literally perfect. In
Right,
order to hit a baseball out 300 plus feet, you have to hit it perfect.
right,
Not a lot of things that you do. You can hit a 3-pointer and you can have an accident bank shot, right? You can
right.
throw a spiral and it could wobble and you catch it still. There's not a lot of sports where the margin of success rate is so small that if you do it, you have that success. Baseball is one of the only sports that has that. There's nothing like that.
Hardest thing in sports, hitting a round ball with a round bat and making it square. That's it.
Hey, golf's pretty tough too. I gotta say, I used to make fun of golf, and I started playing more, and I'm struggling, man. I'm,
No,
I'm
I
so
got too much of a baseball swing myself. That thing's I'm hooking and slicing all day. It is awful, but still fun. It's still fun.
uh,
All right, Charles. That's all I got for you there, my friend. I appreciate so very much the time you've given me. I cannot wish you the most success this year. I hope you guys get everything that you need to. You guys have a successful season. The winter goes great. Everything kind of falls into place. So good luck for you guys, and thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely, man. If I can just encourage youth that are watching this, that they are, the biggest thing that I would tell you from a college coach, when you're so young and you're still in youth sports, don't worry about trying to get to college. Take it for the moment, have fun, play as many positions as you can, and just smile as much as you can. That would be the one thing I could give to you. Just play every position, have a lot of fun, and smile and enjoy playing the game, man. That's what I would say.
This is a great last words, Charles. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Pat.
You got it.